After Mr. Wolt had confused Mr. Watson, and Mr. Watson had then filed charges against me, I was appointed a court attorney because I had no funds left. Mr. Wolt had made sure that I didn't have any access to funds to hire an attorney. Instead, they gave me a public defender, Mr. Tollefson, who, when I requested that the information about this alleged loss and the whole contract be exposed, he said, "Oh, you don't want to do that. It'll just cause more charges to be filed against you. I won't do that for you. We don't need that." After Mr. Tollefson had been appointed, he didn't have time for the case for some reason, and they passed me off to a fellow by the name of John Holbrook out of Wilmer, who was then in charge of the case. And he also made the same mistake Tollefson did, in that he wouldn't review the facts around the alleged theft, around the contract. The contract was central to everything, and he completely avoided that, to the point that he thought that it was a good deal that I should take a plea bargain, when if he'd done the accounting, he would have found out that there was no money missing, and I was owed money by Seixas. Not that I owed Seixas. This carried on then into the federal case, and with an attorney by the name of Jeff Thomas, who I thought at the time would be able to handle this and understand this. But as Mr. Thomas rolled through the information, he too would not review the documents in the accounting, and said, "I can't do anything in a civil case, and we can't go back to that civil case." Me not knowing that that was where all the errors lie, I couldn't fight with or argue, and even when I questioned him about getting a different attorney, he simply made the same case over, that any public defender doesn't have the ability to review civil cases, which was the whole basis. After taking a plea bargain in the federal court for the same case that had no mens rea, there was no loss if the accounting had been done right, I contracted and worked with a company called Prepaid Legal Services over the next 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, in order to get to the bottom of exactly what was the problem that everybody was missing. And in 2008, an attorney by the name of Ben Warpath set upon all this information and made the recommendation that I should make a motion to adjust the restitution. Just deal with the restitution. Getting that straight would then create the foundation in order to create the dismissal of the rest of the charges that were involved in this false claim that the bank had against me in federal court.
Okay.
During that period of time, 2002 to the day, I believe it was in 2005, I contacted and paid an attorney, Jim Osgard, who was more than happy to take my money and more than happy to not review all the documents for the federal case, which was the kingpin and linchpin for the state case, even though it followed it instead of preceded it. Mr. Osgard finally left, I think because he had a big high-profile murder case and was more interested in the money and didn't care whether I was treated right or not. After talking to Ben Warpath and finding in 2008 the key to unlock this, I was referred to an attorney in Minneapolis by the name of Tim Mahar, who reviewed the information and helped me get from the FBI all of the files of the FBI, so that we had all the information that the government had in the beginning. And once we received the files, which was about 16 months after first requesting them, in November of 2009, we discovered that, number one, the FBI had called it a custom farming operation, which it was in 1992, but in 2002 they called it wrongfully a loan, which was indicated in a letter from Mr. Mayer to Mr. Wilbur, the bank's attorney, to another bank counsel that was going to prosecute the civil case in South Dakota. They were all confused, or they were all misled, eventually all making the same error and not accounting for the contract, and most importantly the guarantee by Ceres to pay the whole cost of their crops, which I was simply being the husband of and taking care of for them. After spending over a year and a half almost with Mr. Mahar, who had reviewed the FBI documents, he was stumped. And since he was a young attorney, I could understand, and didn't have a lot of appellate work, I could understand that he couldn't get it. And a good friend of mine had been reviewing cases and came across an old case that an individual here in Minneapolis by the name of Arthur Martinez had, after 18 years, overturned this verdict of guilty of this woman that allegedly had murdered someone. Well, it was the type of stuff that we needed, an individual that could look at a case from the top down, much like an eagle, rather than coming in the middle like everybody else had done and then just calling what they thought they saw a crime rather than really investigating it. Eventually we were able to hire Mr. Mahar, who, after seeing the case, was very impressed with the fact that it was a manifest injustice, that the contract had never been upheld, so that the case never would have been criminal to begin with. There would have been no filing of the case. So consequently, Mr. Martinez has been retained to now go to Nebraska and file the motion for adjustment of restitution, which not only takes the restitution off my back, but at the same time puts it where it belongs, in Ceres' lap, as the contract dictated, and provides the bank has made wrongful statements to the court regarding the losses that they allegedly incurred, because they didn't collect them from the parties that they were due, and they were never due from me or my family. Contractually, it's impossible. It's estoppel-y. It's an estoppel of the contract that Ceres take care of their bill.